She didn't post a photo. She didn't make an announcement. She simply changed one small detail on her Instagram bio, and that was all it took for the world to realize. Lauren Sanchez is now officially Mrs. Bezos. No press release. No stage ceremony live streamed to fans. Just a quiet update tucked into the corner of her profile where Sanchez transformed into Sanchez Bezos. And within hours, the internet exploded. But that wasn't the whole story. Because behind that subtle change was a wedding. So exclusive, so drenched in luxury and star power, it could have passed for a Hollywood movie Venice. Private islands. A guest list stacked with billionaires, moguls, and A-list royalty. And it all happened far from the spotlight until now. It didn't take a press conference or a front page. Headline just 5 extra letters. Overnight, Lauren's Instagram bio went from her usual name to something brand new. Lauren Sanchez Bezos. No emoji. No fanfare. Just a quiet shift that said more than any announcement ever could. For a woman constantly in the spotlight, this move was unusually understated, and that's what made it powerful. Fans noticed at first, then bloggers, then major outlets. Suddenly everyone was asking, did they just get married? It was subtle, but intentional, like a whispered confirmation to the world. And it didn't take long for the dots to connect. Moments after the change, whispers turned into headlines. But the bio update wasn't just a casual rebrand. It was timed almost perfectly with something much bigger. Something that would soon be confirmed by one of the most trusted names in celebrity news. Just hours after Lauren quietly updated her bio, People magazine broke the story. The wedding was reland. It had just happened. According to exclusive reports, Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sanchez officially tied the knot on June 27th in one of the most romantic cities on earth, Venice, Italy. But this wasn't your typical destination wedding. The ceremony took place on the breathtaking island of San Giorgio Maggiore, surrounded by ancient architecture, shimmering canals. In a level of privacy only billionaires can buy. It was the kind of wedding that doesn't need paparazzi because even the whispers were enough to grab headlines. No live stream, no press invites. Just a tight circle of guests, an island full of secrets, and a billionaire groom marrying a woman who had just publicly yet quietly claimed his name. But the real surprise? This was just the beginning. What came next would take the entire wedding to a whole new level of glamour and exclusivity. This wasn't just a wedding, it was a summit of power, fame, and influence. When Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sanchez exchanged vows, they weren't just surrounded by friends, they were joined by icons. Oprah Winfrey was there, walking alongside Gayle King, Leonardo DiCaprio, who once made headlines for his friendly closeness. With Lauren, made an appearance too. Tom Brady arrived with the quiet confidence of someone used to being the most talked about man in any room, but here, even he blended into the crowd. The Kardashians showed up in full force. Kim, Khloe, Kris, and Kylie, each dressed to impress. Orlando Bloom, Karlie Kloss, ushered this wasn't a guest list. It was a cultural cross-section of Hollywood royalty, business tycoons, and entertainment legends. And none of them came for publicity. This was private, exclusive, a guest list you couldn't buy your way onto. Rumors swirled about who wasn't invited and why. But those who were, they witnessed a wedding that blurred the lines between celebrity spectacle and royal event. And while the ceremony remained tightly guarded, the night before gave a rare glimpse into just how extravagant this union truly was. Before vows were exchanged and headlines exploded, the celebration had already begun quietly, but lavishly. On the night before the ceremony, Jeff and Lauren hosted an exclusive welcome party in one of Venice's most hidden gems, a cloister next to the historic Madonna dell'Orto Church. It wasn't held in a ballroom or some flashy resort, it was held in a place that echoed with centuries of mystery and reverence. The setting was intimate, shadowed in candlelight and wrapped in silence, except for the soft chatter of a guest list worth billions. But it wasn't just the venue that had people talking, it was the food. A famed Neapolitan chef flew in too, cook fresh pizza on site while servers carried trays of fried zucchini flowers. It was arancini, octopus, and cod-like edible art. It was rustic Italian luxury at its finest. And the desserts? Spread of lemon cakes and delicate pastries that turned the courtyard into a dreamscape of sweetness. Guests dined under ancient arches surrounded by ivy-covered walls and soft evening breezes off the canals. Lauren appeared, in a custom golden satin gown, off the shoulder, cinched at the waist. and embroidered with Baroque florals that shimmered like something out of a painting. It wasn't just a dinner, it was a statement, prelude to the kind of wedding only the world's richest man could pull off. And yet somehow, this was only the appetizer. The main event, both literally and symbolically, was still to come. When Lauren Sanchez stepped into the venue, time seemed to slow down. All eyes turned not because of her name or who she was marrying, but because of what she was wearing. Her dress wasn't just beautiful, it was art, designed by Schiaparelli and pulled from their Spring-Summer 2025 Haute Couture collection. The gown was a golden off-the-shoulder masterpiece. It hugged her waist with a corseted silhouette, then spilled into embroidered Baroque florals that shimmered with every movement. It was regal, but not stiff-bold, yet timeless. The color itself felt like a message, not white, not traditional, but radiant gold-like, something worn not just by a bride, but by a queen. Every detail was deliberate. This wasn't the dress of someone blending in. This was a woman stepping fully into the spotlight, embracing the role of Mrs. Bezos with elegance and power. And in that moment, it was clear. Lauren wasn't just marrying the world's most famous billionaire. She was becoming a brand of her own. But as she floated through that cloister like a figure carved out of light, there was one person whose presence matched her stride: Jeff Bezos. Waiting quietly in the background, dressed in a way that said less, but meant more. While Lauren dazzled in couture gold, Jeff Bezos played a quieter hand but no less intentional. Dressed in a classic black suit paired with a crisp white shirt, there was no flash, no gimmick, just confidence. The kind of understated elegance that doesn't need to shout to be noticed. His look was timeless, almost symbolic-like. The calm anchor beside a radiant flame. No bow tie, no extravagant designer markings, just Bezos, tailored to perfection. Walking through centuries-old stone corridors like a man fully aware of the moment he was stepping into. It wasn't about fashion for him, it was about presence. And in that simplicity, there was power. Where Lauren's dress told a story of bold transformation, Jeff's suit whispered tradition, permanence, and control. He wasn't trying to match or shine, he was framing it. Together, they didn't just look like a couple, they looked like a force. And as they prepared to step into the ceremony, something became clear. This wedding wasn't just personal, it was purposeful. And the way they arrived at the altar only made that more obvious. The morning of the wedding didn't begin with paparazzi flashes or red carpet fanfare. It began with quiet movements through Venetian alleyways, secret exits, and carefully timed arrivals. Jeff and Lauren left the Amen Hotel, separately, an old-world tradition that added a layer of mystique to an already private event. But even in that brief moment, their presence turned heads. Lauren emerged first, and though she hadn't yet stepped into her final gown, she looked every bit the bride. Dressed in a retro-inspired white jacquetan skirt set, she exuded elegance. From another era, a silk headscarf tied under her chin, oversized sunglasses shielding her eyes, she looked like she had walked straight out of a 1960s romance film. The look wasn't loud, it was legacy. A visual reminder that she was stepping not just into marriage, but into history. Minutes later, Jeff followed, reserved, focused, and alone. No entourage. No over-the-top theatrics. It's just a man walking toward the most defining moment of his personal life. The ceremony itself remained shielded from cameras, tucked away on the private island of San Giorgio Maggiore, where time seemed to stand still and the rest of the world fell away. No live streams, only the sounds of soft footsteps, vows exchanged in hushed voices, and a silence that said this moment was theirs and theirs alone. But if you thought that was the end of the story, you'd be wrong. Because what this wedding represents goes far beyond two people saying "I do." This wasn't just a wedding, it was a message. When Jeff Bezos, the world's third richest man and the architect of Amazon, stood beside Lauren Sanchez, a media powerhouse in her own right, they weren't just joining their lives, they were merging empires. For years, Lauren had stood beside Jeff at high-profile events, conferences, and philanthropic galas. But this moment marked a new era, one where she was no longer simply his partner, but Mrs. Bezos. It was a rebranding, a repositioning, and a quiet declaration of unity that reached far beyond romance. Together, they represent not just wealth, but reach. Tech, media, space exploration, and now, legacy. The ceremony may have been intimate, but the implications ripple outward. Lauren's subtle Instagram change wasn't a coincidence. It was a calculated, graceful step into a new identity, one That's sure to carry weight in every room she walks into from here on. And Jeff? For a man known for innovation and disruption, this wedding felt like the start of something deeply traditional: permanence, partnership, and maybe even a new chapter of public influence built on shared vision, not just individual power. In a world obsessed with short-term headlines, their union feels like a long-term play. But one thing is certain: this is only the beginning.